Hello, comrades. What is a one-word joke? Communism!
Today we are going to talk about the 1940s Red Scare and its subsequent effect on American culture and history. Now, during World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union had been allies, but their relationship has always been a strenuous one. Americans, wary of the communist influence, had always shunned the USSR, and in time led to the Soviets' resentment of everything American. After the war ended, these tensions only heightened as post-war Soviet expansionism in Eastern Europe seemed to threaten American values. Soon after, both superpowers became embroiled in a series of international disputes as each sought to gain the upper hand on the other. As tensions between the Soviet Union and the United States rapidly mounted abroad, hysteria back home also elevated. Fear of invading communists put everyone on edge, and all it took was a little push to send the whole thing off the cliff. In 1947, President Harry S. Truman issued the Executive Order 9835 in hopes of garnering more public support for his Cold War policies, but even he did not anticipate the eventual chaos it would bring. Nicknamed the Loyalty Order, it required all federal employees to be evaluated for their loyalties to the good old United States of America. Of course, this drew a ton of criticism, as it was seen as a great invasion of privacy and civil liberties, but views quickly changed. Just in 2 short years, China became a communist country, North Korea invaded South Korea, and the Soviet Union launched its first successful test atomic bomb. So yes, tunes changed very rapidly, and the Loyalty Order opened doors for further abuses of the Bill of Rights. In response, the House Un-American Activities Committee, or the HWAC, was created in 1938 to investigate allegations of communism in the United States. Through its power to subpoena people and hold them in contempt of Congress, they drew out dubious confessions from its witnesses that named other communists and communist sympathizers. If they refused to talk, they were blacklisted from the industries and were effectively labeled communist traitors who wanted to bring down the American government. If they did talk, they were allowed to keep their jobs and lives, but they had to live with the fact that they gave up friends and families and colleagues to false accusations. Sounding familiar? It should, because this exact same thing happened in the Salem witchcraft trials in 1692, only replaced the accused witches with accused communists. In both cases, a strange hysteria swept up the land, causing mass confusion and chaos. While swift, many people died and/or lost their lifestyles as people turned against each other in a crazed frenzy. In fact, Arthur Miller made the connection in his play The Crucible, where he dramatized the events of the trials, drawing uncomfortable comparisons and implications of the sheer absurdity of the Red Scare. He was brought in on the basis that he was harboring communist ideals, but they were never able to prove that the play was directly connected, so he was able to walk free. While not directly connected to the HWAC, Senator Joseph McCarthy is one of the biggest names connected to this time. He's well known for taking advantage of the indecisive turmoil and jumping straight into the mess. He was under the radar until 1950 when he went to the Republican Women's Club of Wheeling in West Virginia to claim that he had the names of 205 communists who held the high positions of power in the State Department.
Fun fact time! Did you know that his nickname was the Pepsi Cola Kid? He got the name when he took a bribe from Pepsi Cola to fight for the government regulation of sugar. Now, normally, the other senators will rally around their fellow colleagues in a perverted sense of mutually assured destruction, but not this time. In fact, they were the ones to give him the nickname. Back to learning time!
Anyways, he was awarded the chair of Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, and he flaunted his power. Using his position, he accused and subpoenaed government employees, Hollywood, and eventually officers and soldiers in the Army. During this time, most people rolled over and either cooperated with investigators or cited the Fifth Amendment right against self-discrimination, but one group in particular decided that enough was enough and actively denounced the trials. The Hollywood 10 consisted of prominent playwrights and directors whose careers were destroyed because they stood up for what they believed in, and their names were Alva Bessie, Herbert Biberman, Lester Cole, Edward Dmytryk, Ring Lardner Jr., John Howard Lawson, Albert Maltz, Samuel Ornitz, Robert Adrian Scott, and Dalton Trumbo. The group originally included German writer Bertolt Brecht, but he fled the country the day after he gave his testimony at his trial. Now, it may sound like he gave up, but in reality, it was the opposite. In his own subtle way, he protested by answering all the court's questions with roundabout answers and sass, hiding behind his own German culture to frustrate the courts. Unable to pin anything on him, Brecht walked. The rest of the Hollywood 10 were all blacklisted and unable to find work, with the exception of Trumbo, who wrote under the pseudonym Robert Rich and won an Academy Award Oscar for the Best Screenplay for the 1956 movie The Brave One. Thankfully, the McCarthy era was short-lived. In April 1945, McCarthy turned his attention toward the armed forces, a move that eventually cost him his career. He accused the U.S. Army of lax security at a top-secret facility, to which the Army responded with proof that McCarthy had tried to win preferential treatment for one of his aides. These highly publicized Army McCarthy hearings gave birth to the famous quote, "Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?" And with that, his time is over. The Red Scare held a lasting impact on American society. Fear of communism led to the rejection of foreign ideals, and more people became focused on American ideals, such as family. However, this also caused a significant decrease in social revolutions, for the fear of going against social norms was seen as un-American, and women and workers were pushed back into the roles they had previously fought against. This lasted all the way up until the 1960s civil rights movement. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.
Communism for the win! Go Reds!